motivated. We all need a little motivation. Money keeping her motivated. We all need a little motivation. Money keeping me motivated. We all need a little motivation. Money keeping her motivated. We all need a little motivation. Keep all the real niggas motivated. Keep all them little niggas motivated. Maybach 600, it drove her crazy. Sure they gon' do it, she motivated. I've been neglecting the rover.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. Here to the left of me, I have an entrepreneur in the healing space. Her name is Jazz. Her company is Four2Five Wellness. How you doing today?
What's up? How are you?
I'm very good, very good. So Jazz here, she runs her own yoga studio. She has various of different retreats about wellness, incorporates yoga mostly. We're going to dive into all that. Before we dive into all that, though, where were you born and raised?
In Providence.
Okay.
Yep.
And what high school did you go to?
Classical.
Oh, okay. Great. So you were probably a good student growing up.
I was good.
You were good? Okay. And now, when you were in high school, like, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
I thought I was going to be a nurse.
Okay. And then you end up becoming
Being
a
a
nurse.
nurse.
Okay. And now, as a nurse, what made you say, hey, I want to do something different?
A lot, like just how the healthcare system is right now and how it was at the time and the circumstances that we were under and just everything wasn't how I pictured it to be.
Okay. And explain that. So what did you think it was going to be and what did it end up being?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, and then coming out of college, they want you to have medical surgical experience. So I ended up going into medical surgical nursing, and then I became a travel nurse. And throughout the whole country, all we see is people with chronic illnesses. They're sick. They have low self-esteem. Their diet is crap, and we're not really helping them. We're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on their situation.
Right.
And their mental health is suffering as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm traveling to different places, I'm seeing the same things, and I'm trying to advocate for my patients, and everything is just kind of like pushing medication, putting a Band-Aid on the actual issue. Mm-hmm. And I've always been someone that took a more natural approach and a more holistic approach to everything. So kind of just seeing like what can be done here and learning that 80% of chronic illnesses are preventable through lifestyle changes kind of really pushed me to say like, hey, what's going on here?
Right. And I'm happy that you said that because as a psychotherapist, I'm also on that train of like, let's try out every possible way naturally to help out versus going straight to the medication. Because what a lot of people don't understand is once your body is accustomed to certain medications, it is very hard to get off. And then you also become just so crazed about this medication that it's almost like a placebo effect where it might not even really be doing what it's said to be doing, but you just believe that, okay, I need this pill to feel good. Absolutely. If I don't have this pill, I don't feel good. And now if we can take that same effect and just do things naturally, it's like you kind of control your own emotions, you control your own future. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing. Has there been any instances where you've had any arguments or issues with staff of yours that deem one client to need a certain medication and you were like, wait, if he just kind of lays off the cheeseburgers for a little bit, right, like he would be okay?
Yeah, so as a nurse, we're always advocating for our patients, right? And there's two different nurses. There's a nurse that wants to do things more natural and then the one that doesn't. And we have a system in the hospital where, most times people get Colace, which is for constipation, right? And if you could just walk and drink some water, like you really wouldn't need to be doing those things. So advocating for my patients and letting them know, like, listen, if you eat fruit and vegetables and we go on a walk, then maybe we can delay this medication or maybe like a suppository or something crazy. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can delay it. And there's just people that would just give it without trying other interventions. So those have been like the arguments around just having a misunderstanding.
Has there been any time where you've actually been successful in taking a client off of medication because of natural either diet or behaviors that you've instilled in them?
Yeah, so this was actually, I can't like treat or prescribe you as a nurse, but I ventured into wellness coaching, and I was able to help my client advocate for herself. She had what's called PCOS, so she was on a bunch of medications, which it's a hormone imbalance, and she wanted to have a baby, and we ended up changing her whole lifestyle throughout the 12 weeks that I worked with her, and just kind of talking with her doctor and saying, hey, what do you think about this medication, and helping her advocate. And she ended up getting off of her medications and having a baby.
Oh, wow.
So that was dope.
Wow. So you actually kind of helped create a life, per se.
I have a few babies.
That's crazy. Wow. That's what's up. And now, in line with that, what has been, because, you know, before this podcast started, we were kind of talking about our careers and things like that. What was the last straw in the, okay, I really actually need to take a step back from nursing. I want to go full-fledged into wellness.
Oh my God. So damn. So I wanted to open up a wellness studio back in, after I had my son, so maybe 2018, 2019. And I'm like, how do I get money fast? Like, how do I do this? So I used to live in California, and I moved back. And then the only way that I knew how to get money fast was to do travel nursing. So when my son was 1, we moved back to...
Travel nurses were running it up during COVID.
Yeah, well, this was before. I think I started in 2015. So we moved to Long Beach, and I was only there for like a couple months. And I'm like, yeah, where should this... I started like meditating a little, like experimenting with it. And I'm like, where should this wellness center be? And a few weeks after me being there, my sister, she was pregnant. She was 29 weeks. And I got a phone call. I was just on the phone with her, and I got a phone call that something was wrong. There was like a code blue in the back when I was on the phone. And so I dropped everything, and I came back home. I was like at the airport. The airport was closed. We came back home. So she had a stroke, and she had to have brain surgery while she was pregnant. And seeing that, and like,
wow.
Yeah, that was a lot. I didn't expect that for us to go right into that. But seeing that was like my last straw. I was like, yo, I am not doing bedside nursing anymore because of how strongly I had to advocate for my sister, because of everything that my family had to go through in that time. It was at Rhode Island Hospital, and I remember writing like a post like, I'm retired from nursing. And ever since that day, I have not been to the bedside.
Was there a part of you that, even though, you know, you weren't really in that immediate thing, that you didn't even want to be part of what led to that, like, at all, type of thing? Like, you want to cut all ties with that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, just everything. It was very like a traumatic experience, and then being the patient and knowing like we could actually help them way more. So I had to I made her own food. Like, we did a whole bunch of different like alternative interventions that I don't think that if we hadn't put those in place, that she would have been okay.
Wow. And, you know, was this documented at all? Because sounds like a movie damn near, where it's like, you know, the nurse sister helps out the sister by like giving her natural stuff instead of, you know, medication. Like, did you guys document any of this?
So we were so like, I don't even know, like, I was so in a different space that I just have a few videos, but my phone had broke. So I only have like maybe one video of us like going through it. I wish we did.
Yeah, because that's an amazing story. Now, with the wellness coaching, I have to ask you, what made you take the first steps in putting yourself out there as a wellness coach? The second thing is, what credentials and what did you feel like people saw that had them sign up to say, okay, yes, I want you to be my wellness coach?
So I'm trying to think what happened.
Because I do feel like, and obviously you're leading the pack in terms of like Rhode Island and things of that nature, but I do feel like the term coach and like wellness is kind of thrown out there damn near as much as like the mental health stuff, where it's like people use it and then it's like they have no credentials, they have no experience for real, and just because like anyone who has something to say can arguably be a coach.
Right.
So what kind of separated yourself from that pack?
All right, I remember. I was also in school for midwifery. So right before I was having my son, I was going to graduate midwife slash nurse practitioner. And I had this whole vision that I was going to have a practice where I could be a midwife and there would be other like wellness practitioners there and yoga instructor and make it kind of like a whole alternative therapy kind of thing. And then because I had my son, like my credits expired, so I didn't end up finishing my grad school. So I took that information and that knowledge. The only thing I had left was my my clinicals. So I took that knowledge to make a like wellness plans for my clients. And that's how it kind of ended up being that. And it's just like to provide them with education so they can make their own consent.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And now you're currently located in East Providence.
Yep.
How's that been for you?
It's been fun.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been really challenging and like a growth process for me, like on all levels. Like it just stretched me completely.
And so when it comes to the business side, I'm not sure how familiar with my podcast you are, but we do dive into the numbers a little bit just because there's a lot of like future entrepreneurs that watch this and business like minded people. So when it came to like kind of opening your own business, what kind of profit margins did you want to have or want to keep in mind? Because like you said before, like a traveling nurse, they were making six figures at one point or even still now. So for you to kind of leave that and do this, did the money have to equate? Were you like, you know what, I just feel better doing this, so I'll take a cut on the money? Where was your headspace in terms of like the business side of things?
Honestly, I don't come from a business background. I was just thinking in passion. And my first year I made like $12,000.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, what is this? I'm gonna go bankrupt. But I did stuff on the side, but just like that is not sustainable. Then like the other year, like we 5 times that much, you know what I mean? So for me, it's not about the money, but I do want to be at a level where I'm at least making 6 figures so that I know like I can sustain my lifestyle.
Right.
And I know that, 6 figures is what, $230 a day or something. So in my head, I'm like, I can make that for myself a day.
And when it comes to the wellness studio, like how big do you want this thing to be? Like if you could dream and close your eyes and there was no such thing as failure, how big do you want this thing to become?
I think I want it to be like a whole lifestyle brand. Like I really want it to be something like when you look at wellness for the culture, you think about 4-5 Wellness. So.
And the name itself, 4-5, can you explain that?
Yeah, so I was, like I told you guys before, we were talking about having like an alternative therapy practice, and I was talking with my friend about it, and there wasn't anything in Rhode Island that looked like that, and this was like on the night of my birthday. And so she called me and she's like, hey, I think you should open up a studio or a wellness center. Like, I know it's possible. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. So that was the night before I turned 29, I think. And so I'm like, all right, I'll just call it 4-5 Wellness. And that's exactly how the name happened.
Okay. And, do you see it kind of being franchised at all, or do you want to stay in Rhode Island with it?
So it's funny, people have reached out in like other states and like, oh, let's do it. But I really want to make sure that I have a solid foundation here. And I know it's not only going to be a physical location, like it's going to be online and things
virtual
like that.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. So I would love to have other places where people can come and get together. Just also trying to like navigate, what does real estate look like right now? What is the state of having physical locations? Because I know a lot of places are closing down.
True.
So just being more aware of what happens.
And now outside of the studio, you also do a bunch of like excursions and, do you want to kind of explain some of those? I know because a bunch of different ones. I mean, even like, I think I saw you having something with like a childbirth type of thing as well? If you want to just explain
the doula?
if you want
I
to
do
just
a
explain
lot of
all
stuff.
of it. Yeah.
So what we're doing in August, we're going on a womb wellness retreat. And that is where I originally started teaching about womb wellness and how to heal after birth. But this whole womb wellness process is teaching the woman how to use the science and incorporate it with like ancient wisdom. So you have like a full mind, body, spirit approach to healing your body using natural birth control, becoming a wellness educator yourself. So this is more like a training. It's 24 hours total. And then you also have room to play, to go on adventure, because like we're forgetting to connect back to our bodies, to connect back to sisterhood, to connect back to nature. So that's why the whole experience is the way it's set up.
And now, who comes up with this? Like, do you have a friend that's like, oh, you know what you should do? You should do that. Like, or is it just all you?
So I do have, she's my administrator. So I'll tell her, hey, this is where I want to go or whatever. And then she'll say, okay, let's look at these hotels and we'll go here and then we'll put a package together. But I mainly create like the educational piece, and then I'll say like, this is what I want out of it. Like the creative side, I'm not too good with books and that piece of it drives me crazy. So she'll do that. But this one, actually, last year we went to Dominican Republic, and that was important because I'm Dominican. So I'm like, I really wanted to be like rooted in where I'm from. And this year someone reached out in my email, like, you know how they have those random people that like market to you, and she was she had a space in Panama, and I'm like, yo, I think this is it. So we ended up talking to her on a Zoom call, and you know, they put together how many rooms we want and things like that, and then we'll go from there.
That's super cool. And I just feel like with that exposure, like who knows like who else is gonna see it or hit you up, you know what I mean? A lot of stuff, especially like content wise, you know, have you been doing kind of recaps and stuff like that, and been posting recaps and reels and things like that? Have you noticed any like additional traction since you've been doing that?
I have. Other people like from other states reached out, so they did end up booking and stuff like that. I do have the girls like make their own reel through their experiences, and so we're able to share those, and they can share their experience, but we can also share it. So it's cool to use it as reviews too.
And now you know, I'm sure, just like in my field, like the ultimate satisfaction of all this is that you're helping people. Like, you know, having a career or making a business while also helping others is like, there's no losing that. So I'm very happy to see that. Now, a friend of the show, he was actually on here before, BJ, Ibrahim, as everyone else knows him. I know him as BJ. But can you explain what he did with you not too long ago?
Yeah, yesterday we had it was so dope. We had a men's wellness session. So I had been wanting to incorporate men into the studio for so long. I started off trying to offer like recovery for sports, because I really like sports medicine too. So we had like, I don't know if you heard of cryotherapy before.
Yep.
So I had that, and then like I had athletes come and try to do that, but that wasn't it. But I knew, like, I'm like, maybe like, how am I gonna get men to like heal or want to do yoga or whatever? And I'm like, I'm a woman. I really want it to be coming from a man's perspective, and I want to give men that space to be able to be vulnerable in themselves. And I think BJ came to an event that we had, probably our 30th anniversary. We had like an art show, and he came and we connected, and I'm like, oh, do you want to do it? And he's like, yeah, bet for sure. So we came up with What's Good PVD. And it's kind of a safe space for men to just be. So we incorporate movement, meditation, and BJ incorporates the mindfulness, talking about therapy, and like allowing men to just kind of be vulnerable and sharing. And then we also do breathwork detox, so incorporating different modalities of healing in one session.
That's super cool. I gotta go to one of those for sure. I gotta go to one of those. That sounds really dope. And now, do you see the wellness field being kind of like peaked up to a point where everyone has a voice in it, which is kind of be like a negative thing, because my wellness might be different from your wellness? So if we're both speaking in the wellness field, but wellness to me is you have to be a vegan because meat is bad for you, and you're like, oh, but the carnivore diet is actually good. Like, where do you see the fine lining between people's perception of wellness?
Yeah, I think people have a different perception of wellness, everybody, but our wellness is really rooted in the fundamentals of yoga. And yoga is a study of a higher consciousness. So for me, my wellness is unique to me. I just want to give you the tools that you may need to find your light. So the whole point of this is for you to find yourself and your truth. So if you want to eat meat, that's okay. But I'm going to show you like, okay, this is why these plants are good, or this is why this is not. And you can make your own informed decision from there. And I think like people miss that point.
Yeah. That's a great answer. I feel like you said that before, but that was a really good answer. When it comes to 425 Wellness, how will you measure success?
I think by the amount of people that I can serve. Okay. I feel like I'm really in this. This is like my Jesus year, not to be like self-righteous, but just like being in a place of service and just showing love. And that's how I want to show up. I think that's what success would mean to me.
So a steady influx of people that come in and do what you. Okay. Would you rather be loved or respected?
Loved.
And why? I
think when you're loved, you are respected. You can't love someone if you don't respect them.
Okay. Who you might have more, but who are your two best friends?
I'm not doing this. Why?
Who are your two best friends? You might have more, but just shoot two out.
I have best friends for different reasons.
Give me two.
All right.
They don't have to be the top.
I would say like the people that know me the most, probably like Angela and Haiti.
Okay. So if I go up to Angela and I go up to Haiti and I say, what is one thing that Jazz needs to work on? What would each one of them tell me?
I think like it would say like being careful who I allow to be close to me.
Okay. And do you want to like expound on that? Were they there when maybe you allowed people close to you that weren't supposed to?
I feel like all my friends are like really protective of me, so they get jealous of each other. But I think that they all have that, like, I'm so open sometimes that, I don't really look at people as having bad intentions, and sometimes they do, and I kind of try to look past that, and so.
And I was actually, I'm grateful that you opened that up, because I was going to ask, especially when it comes to relationships, you hear all the time about, women wanting to fix men, or like, women seeing the toxic traits, women seeing the red flags, but feeling the need or feeling that they have the ability to change this individual. Now, for lack of a better term, you help people every day, and you open people, and you change people's lives in a different way. Do you feel like you have an even kind of increased ability to do so? And with that being said, do you think that you even indulge in maybe, or in the past, men that you knew that there was red flags with, but you were like, I'm her. Like, I'm a nurse. Like, I'm a wellness coach. I can fix him. Like, we can handle all that.
Yeah, I think that is like a big lesson that I've learned. Like, you got to let people be, give them space and grace. And I don't want to fix anybody. And I feel like I did used to, like before, like even how I grew up, or being a nurse, or just having to have that's like, that was a positive trait. And like now looking back at like my relationships and seeing like, like having a different perspective on it, or like why things didn't work, it's like you need to accept people for who they show you that they are, and give them grace. But if they're not, I don't want to say on your level, but if you're not in alignment with them, then you have to believe that. So I just want to be
you have
very
to believe
like, supportive.
What they show you.
Yeah.
You have to believe what they show you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What or who has been your biggest inspiration?
have a few. Nipsey
Okay.
is really big for me.
And why is that?
I think like probably during, especially like living in the West Coast and like being exposed to him during that time when he was like starting to really be popping was really inspirational. Because I used to like watch his videos and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is how men are not supposed to act, but this is a good example of like a man, or how like he was like a master teacher to me. So I took in a lot of his information, and then just going, even like for moon wellness, I think him or Lauren London or somebody suggested a book, and I had started reading it, and it really aligned with what I was doing. It was by Queen Afua. So I got into this whole, a lot of seeds were planted because of a lot of things that he said, whether that's in his music or his interviews, and just like really bringing wellness for the culture with that intention.
What do you believe that most people don't?
In myself.
You feel like most people don't believe in you?
No, I think most people don't believe in themselves.
True. And you're kind of 100% all in with yourself.
Right now at this point, I feel like there's no other option. Like, who's going to bet on you if you're not going to bet on yourself?
I agree. If you could take 425 Wellness and move it anywhere, where would it be and why?
I would move it to Providence, because that's like my home. That's where my foundation is. It's close. We're in East Providence, but really somewhere in Providence.
Okay. Top 5 artists that you currently listen to?
Right now. Who am I? I'm listening to Landrell right now. I'm listening to J. Cole. Still listening to Drake. Let me see for girls. Lizzie Jeff, she's dope. Should listen to her.
Okay.
And
I'll be surprised if Summer Walker's not on that list.
who? Oh, Summer Walker. No, she's not on that list. SZA was on the list.
SZA's on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. It was one of the two. All right.
Oh, Janae Aiko.
What has been your most regretful purchase?
Nothing.
So you haven't regretted any purchases?
No.
Wow, that's pretty lucky. So you haven't like splurged on something or
You
bought
get it
something?
right back.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. If you could have lunch with anyone, who would it be and why?
I would say my grandma.
Okay. And why?
I feel like she has a lot of knowledge, and like we're very close, so I'll pick her every time.
Okay. When it's all said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
I think as someone who really valued love and unconditional love, and someone who poured their whole heart out into everything that they did.
And what is the difference between love and unconditional love? Is there a difference?
I feel like...
Can you love someone not unconditionally? I know I just asked like 4 different questions at the same time, but...
I feel like... So I actually got you a book about love. It's called All About Love.
All right.
And so the way that they define love is the commitment to one's own or your own spiritual growth. And I think that when there's an agreement to commit together and come in love, that's love. But I think unconditional love can be not being like having unconditional. I can have unconditional love for you where we're not in partnership or wherever, but I'm still wishing you love.
The best.
Yeah. And I think love is like letting people be free and allowing them to grow and be themselves.
Okay. And now, before we wrap this up, do you have any questions for me?
I would say, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years.
Actually, let's say 3 years.
All right. So in 3 years, I will definitely have a very successful therapy practice. I would probably have 2 more houses to my real estate portfolio, and probably part owner of the lounge I manage.
Okay.
So that would be in 3 years.
This is a timestamp.
Yeah, that would be
All
in 3
right.
years.
We were
yeah,
manifesting this.
That would be in 3 years. Yep. And and hopefully this podcast will be so crazy by then that we can revisit this conversation for both of us. Now, before you get out of here, what would you like to tell the viewers that maybe hit a hardship, or they were trying really hard at something and failed? They're kind of down in the dumps. What kind of statements, or what can you say to those people that are needing of some motivation?
I would say that whatever is meant for you is always going to be for you. So just be open to receiving. You cannot lose what's for you. So have faith.
Okay. Faith is definitely very important. Well, thank you for taking the time today for talking with us. And for all our viewers out there, you keep smooth.